Hello everyone and welcome back, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Alessandro Florenzi, and it's a bit premature because the player hasn't officially, as of filming this video, hasn't officially signed for Milan. So I'm kind of jumping the gun on this one, but I do feel like this is going to happen. Many factors for that, mainly just due to the fact that Roma have to make departures and sales because they've got a humongous squad. Milan, obviously, this is a position that we require. I do feel like this is Florenzi is someone who wants to come to Milan, probably stay in Italy, all these sort of factors, obviously, after just winning the Euros. I feel like it's a deal that's going to happen. I was going to do today's video on Josip Ilicic and why I do feel like signing him is a good move, but that's something I feel like we're quite far away from seeing any end of negotiations, perhaps in a couple of weeks' time, towards the end of the transfer window. So there's plenty of time to talk about Ilicic and my thoughts about him. So today let's talk about Florenzi and really why I like the signing if it is going to happen. So let's quickly go over the key facts first. Firstly, he's 30 years old. That means that he is, kind of in that prime period of his life, coming out of the most athletic part of his career. He's not too old to be kind of like useless, and it's sort of like a risk. I feel like it's a misinterpretation that he's always injured and stuff. And we're going to go through his sort of like his record from last season and all these sort of things to sort of put that to bed, that he's just coming in to just basically get injured all the time, like someone like Andrea Conti. I don't think that's the case. I feel like he has a lot to offer for our squad. Another thing as well, he's Italian. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We don't have enough Italians in the team. Obviously, he's not from La Primavera. Yeah, could have been better, but it is what it is. But he's an Italian nonetheless, which has implications to our squad when it goes into competitions like the Champions League, and obviously how many players we can call upon. Now we have another player we can call upon in the squad. Part of I think the limit is 6 or 8. I can't remember what the rule is now, but so that's another player we can call upon with great experience who is going to add something into our team going into that competition. So yeah, this is a good move on that front, and really another thing we're going to go up on is his position. He is predominantly a right back right now. That's something, if you kind of asked me about what his position was 7 years ago, that's changed a lot. Very similar, I have to say, to someone like Ignacio Abate when he was a player. He started off as a right winger, and then as time went on and sort of realised that his strengths can be a bit more on the defensive end, he turned himself into a right back. So he's predominantly a right back right now, but there is room for that sort of adaptiveness in different formations if Pioli was to apply it, and that's something we'll talk about later on. So let's talk a bit about the deal. From what we're hearing so far, even though it's not been finalised yet, the deal is going to be a loan deal for 500,000 euros, and the option to buy is going to be for 4 to 4.5 million euros, which is quite a relatively cheap deal. Obviously, his age is taken into account there. Roma clearly want to make some sales and make some departures, so they're not in a position to really haggle for a lot of money for Florenzi to go. It's a really cheap deal. Obviously, he's 30 years old, so they can't really claim a lot of money for it. If you kind of like put this in sort of perspective, the whole operation of this deal is going to cost us around what it would take to bring Dalot back on loan for just one season from Manchester United. So really, even at the end of it, if we get this player full time, it's going to be exactly what we paid for, just getting Dalot back for a loan deal, and then potentially working on a future sale in the next summer transfer window. So it's one of them things where, as a backup right back, do we need to put so much focus on it when we really want to get someone in the door, add to our squad immediately, and obviously add to our initial experience? From what I'm hearing as well, reports came out yesterday, and you'll see them on the channel at Stefano Milan, that the backup option in case this doesn't happen is going to be Serginho Dest from the right back for Barcelona. Obviously, Barcelona having major issues financially. We're seeing it with Lionel Messi potentially going to he's left the club now. He's going to be going to PSG, obviously taking his talents to the French league. So Barcelona are completely ruined financially, so they have to make some either sales or send some players out on loan to get the wages off the bill. So don't be surprised, obviously, if this deal falls through, that we look towards a player like Serginho Dest. But I do really feel like this deal is going to happen because there's not many risks to it, and there's not a lot of money intact, and I feel like there's a lot of wiggle room here, but especially if the player wants to stay in Italy and play for a club that's in the Champions League, which is us. Okay, this is the bit I love doing now. This is the strengths and weaknesses part. This is what I look at the player and I can see what he can really add to the team with his main strengths, and obviously what is something to look out for with his weaknesses. As mentioned before, his position right now is a right back position. This is something that he's changed throughout his career. Obviously, started off as a more of a right winger for the Roma setup. He adapted himself more into a centre mid as well during that time. Because of this, he's allowed himself to get a very good passing range up, short passes, long passes. He's very good at that. So, yeah. Not to say like I would say he's a better crosser right now than Calabria. Calabria can easily learn from this aspect of his game, learn from players like Florenzi. But Florenzi currently right now tips it as the better passer, the better crosser of the ball. Obviously, Calabria is a bit more athletic, but that's obviously due to age and whatnot. But when it comes to passing, I'm going to tip it to Florenzi. Crossing, obviously a right back or any sort of fullback, it's a major aspect of your game when it comes to crossing. We're going to have big players in the box right now. We're going to have players like Giroud, Ibrahimovic, even at the back post, players like Rebic, Teo, if he sort of does that overlapping run. So we're going to need someone, obviously you can add a lot of crossing and passing range into their game. Dalot had that, very strong. He had that last year, so we need someone at his level who's really going to pump those crosses into the box and give us a sort of threat when it comes down to the right flank. Other than that, really, another strength of his is his possession game. He's very calm. Obviously, he's played in positions higher up on the pitch. He's played in very experienced levels, international football, club football. So possession-wise, I feel like we're going to need that level head if you play certain games, big games in the Champions League or in domestically in the Serie A, that he's going to know what to do on the ball and not really give the ball away cheaply, which is something we kind of did a few times last year, gave away a few sloppy balls. So, something that's going to be an improvement to our squad overall. Okay, so now weaknesses. There's two things that stand out to me. Firstly is him in aerial duels. I do feel like he is obviously not the tallest of players, more astute to the attacking part of the game, even though his athleticism has gone. He has learned throughout his career to be a bit more astute defensively, but I just feel like there'll be games where we won't be surprised if we were just thinking, I wish Calabria was playing because that mistake wouldn't have happened. He's not perfect defensively, otherwise we would be spending a lot more money on the right back in this case. We're kind of getting what we're paying for here, someone who is going to give us an overall good aspect to their game, but not great. He's obviously not the tallest of players, so don't be surprised if opposition targets him at the back post in the air. Other than that, tackling, he's good enough, but obviously because he's not a natural right back from the start of his career, there's certain elements and interception parts of his game that he won't always get. But he'll give you 100%, like no doubt. But I just feel like once again, on the defensive side of his game, we're going to be looking at times where he's playing and like they're going, Calabria would have gotten to that one. So don't be surprised if that happens, but that's just part of having depth. The backup's never usually going to be as good as the starting player in this case. So so don't try to sort of kill him on that one. Next up, I want to talk about positional adaptability, and this is something where I feel like if we sign Florenzi, we're going to have a lot of fun with, and purely, he's been critiqued quite a lot for not having a plan B or other alternatives to his 4-2-3-1 formation. For me, it's just because the players that he has just doesn't allow him to have that adaptability. And signing players like Florenzi, and he's not just a right back. He can play, throughout his career, he's played a range of positions. Right back, right wing back, right midfield, centre midfield. Heck, we can even put him at right winger if we wanted to, but obviously that's not what we want. We want someone a bit more faster, a bit more niftier, a bit more technical, but he can offer you basically a position anywhere down that right flank. Very similar to Alexis Salamaker's. So signing players like him allows us to further, know that we can adapt this team into different formations. It's been spoken about quite a few times on Twitter. I'm seeing now we can go into a 4-3-2-1 formation, or even go for a 3 at the back formation, a 3-5-2, because now we have the wing backs. Now we have players in certain positions. We can even put like Calabria as maybe like the third centre back on the right, and I have Florenzi as the right wing back or something like that. So there's a lot of adaptiveness that Pioli can now tinker with in this team. And really, if things aren't clicking and if things are getting a bit too predictable with the 4-2-3-1, he's allowing himself to sort of open things up, or even in-game tactics, not completely change formation, but in the game, because he has certain players that can adapt into different roles, he can sort of change things up in the game, which is good to have, because we need to have plan Bs. And I think that's something we'll be seeing next year if we sign players like Florenzi. So let's quickly talk about the player's history, because we've been talking about experience quite a lot, and let's see why he has all this experience. Firstly, he has 227 Serie A games under his locker, mostly obviously for Roma. He was fantastic as a player throughout Roma. I think a lot of Roma fans loved and respected him. Obviously, coming up through the youth ranks. I think spent a bit of time at Crotone, was sold there and eventually brought back by Roma. A lot of Roma fans loved him at the time when he was at the club. In Serie A, he just got to know it from just being there for quite a while, nearly a decade of playing regular first team football. So, 227 games in Serie A level is great experience to add to our squad, great knowledge. And he's someone that's not going to be green to the league, someone who's going to not be surprised by whatever opposition he comes up against, and that's something we need. Dalot took a while to adapt to the league, and I feel like bringing someone in new as well for that position. We already have that with Ballatore, the left back position, as the backup. So at least for Florenzi, we're not worried that he's going to have to come in and learn the league completely and how it plays and the slower tempo and the more tactical based systems that are in effect. So yeah, that's great. And then obviously 43 Champions League appearances in total. That's fantastic. We talk about experience, signing players like Giroud. He's played a lot of Champions League games in his career. Similar thing here, 43 games in the Champions League. Not a lot of our players have played in the Champions League at all. So it's great to get this valuable experience into the club. And really, in a competition we've not been in for a while, it's going to be completely valuable, I believe, for next year. Other than that, really, talking about his international experience, he has 45 appearances for Italy. Obviously, most notable, they just won the Euros over the summer. Fantastic achievement. He was supposed to be a major part of that team until he got injured in the first game. And obviously, Di Lorenzo stepped up and sort of took the first team role. And he didn't play a lot of appearances throughout the tournament. He played the first game, 45 minutes, and he came a bit on the final against England, played a couple of minutes there. But he's still a massive part of that squad because he was there for all the qualifiers. And he got a medal nonetheless, so he's a winner. That's fantastic. And that kind of brings us on to, obviously, that was last season. We talk about how his last season was for PSG. He was a regular fixture in the team. He played 36 appearances. He played 10 in the Champions League. Playing against big sides as well. This is something we have to pin out. Twice against Manchester United in the group stage. He played twice against Manchester City in the semi-final. He played twice against Barcelona. He missed the Bayern Munich fixtures due to, I think, one injury, and there was another issue as well of that one. So yeah, he's playing against big oppositions. This is something that not all of our players have experienced before. We're going to need this level head when it comes to the Champions League, when it comes to just sort of even like retaining our position in the top four. We're going to need that because we can't just wing it with young players who are just, the young players have what they can offer to the team. Sparks of energy, liveliness. Brahim Diaz's and Rafael Leao's, they're going to be willing to take risks. That's fantastic. But when it comes to like the end of certain moves or seeing out games or possession football, we're going to need players like Florenzi. We're going to need players like Ilicic, hopefully if he comes. We're going to need players like Olivier Giroud, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. All these, we need this experience. It's got to be that complete, blend of youth and experience that comes together and allows us to succeed as a club and obviously build into the near future. So yeah, let's really wrap up my thoughts about the deal if it's going to happen. I keep saying an asterisk if it's going to happen. I feel like it's very much going to happen. I'd be very, very shocked if it doesn't. This is something that Maldini can 100% go over the line. And yeah, really, I'm really happy with this deal. If it materialises, it is someone we're getting in great experience. We talked about it before. I know he's had injuries in the past, but really, he's not broken. He missed a few games last season. Obviously, he missed a chunk of the Euros. Sometimes it can just happen. Who are we to talk about injuries when we had the whole squad pretty much missing last year? He missed a couple games last year for PSG. And obviously the workload as well isn't going to be that high as from what's required from him, because obviously our starting right back is still Davide Calabria. Florenzi has a bit to offer to this side. It's not something that I'm going to sort of scream home is our big summer signing. It's not. But at the same time, it is great depth to add to the side. It's something that I think I can look at and go, this is the right sort of move to make. Obviously, there are other positions that should be taking priority. I get that. I've been having many debates on Twitter with myself that There is plenty of time for the end of the window to get players in the right winger position and the attacking midfield position, because the squad isn't quite finished yet. We all know this. I feel like Maldini knows this. He knows about class and experience and how much quality we're going to need to sort of succeed and add on to this. We're seeing clubs like Inter Milan get decimated completely, so we have to really take advantage of this. And I'm with you all on this one. I do feel like there are certain ilk of players that we have to sign to keep us going and at least get us the top 4 finish again. But in the meantime, I like this Florenzi deal if it is going to happen, and I'm excited to see what other deals might pop up. And that's another thing as well. The rumours that are coming out, you've got to take everything really with a pinch of salt. We've been linked with 1,000 attack and midfield players, and none of which are any close to being finalised. This deal for Florenzi came out of nowhere. Monday, midday, all of a sudden we're in advanced talks with Roma for getting the deal across the line. Don't be surprised if the same thing happens again for the right winger position, for the attack and midfield position. It's something that Ollie's mentioned many times in the podcast, that I feel like the deal for the player that we're going to get in those positions, that player hasn't been revealed to us yet. So just sort of take everything with a pinch of salt and keep your eyes peeled to Twitter, keep your eyes peeled to the best reporters out there. Daniela Longo is a great one to follow. Really just sort of keep with it. And there's a bit of time for the transfer window to finish. Not everything's been sorted out yet. But until then, Forza Milan.